That's the new Ather 450S. Let me show you how this display works and also the new switchgear. They have a joystick here and a dedicated reversing assistant, and it has fault detection on. Obviously I can't show it here, but I've had an experience. Let me start riding and show you how this feels. First here in an off-road terrain and then on the road. All clear. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are and when you're watching this, welcome to a new vlog. You might be wondering, where is the scooter that he mentioned in the title and thumbnail? Well, that's where it is. That's the new Ather 450S, and some of you might be wondering, it looks exactly same as my own scooter, the Gen 2 or the Gen 3. Well, externally it looks almost the same, right? The lights, the overall silhouette, the design, everything feels the same. The suspension, the tires, the brakes are all the same. The major changes are the battery pack, the power output from the motor, and this lovely new instrument cluster. The switchgear has also changed, but this will also come up on the upcoming 450X update, which will happen sometime in October, November, tentatively. In terms of battery capacity, compared to 450X Gen 3, which has 3.7 kilowatt hours, this has 2.9 kilowatt hours. You'll also get the same battery capacity, 2.9 kilowatt hours, on the 450X as a middle variant. On all the three models, you'll get standard and Pro Pack. So the Pro Pack gives you some ride assist and Ather Connect features. Ride assist would be having these ride modes: Eco, Ride and Sport. You also get turn-by-turn navigation here.
As you're about 100 meters from the turn, the wings on top will start giving you a very nice visual indicator.
With Ather Connect package, you can track your scooter, input directions from the app. There are a ton of features which I list here. The Ather Ride Assist and the Ather Connect features. Starting price of this would be 1.29 lakhs. 1.3 is for the standard pack. For the Pro Pack, I think you need to pay up to 1.43. This varies by city to city, so go check their website for more details. With the launch of Ather 450S, I think they have made electric vehicles much more, electric scooters to be specific, much more accessible to a lot more public. They're increasing their dealership presence from current 250 plus to almost 350 plus by the end of 2024. And with a starting price of 1.3 lakhs, I think this will be a big hit in their product portfolio. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if this takes up more than 50% of their sales, man. Chalo, let's get on the road and see how this feels, if it feels any different to the current models, because that's the most important thing, right? So before I start riding, let me show you how this display works and also the new switchgear. I think this is one of the best implementations in this price category. It's color screen and also very high contrast. In fact, they call this DFU display primarily because this has 1000 to 1 contrast ratio, and it is visible. Trust me, what you see on the internet doesn't do justice to how good this screen is. It's a bit reflective with the top layer. I wish it was matte, or at least the borders were covered, but either way, you're for this price segment, and the typical 125cc scooters get a calculator like screen here. So in that regard, I think this is such a big update. When you first turn on the scooter, you'll get this interesting animation like that handlebar or wings and these two eyes, which is kind of funky. You get a range display here with battery indicator, and I think this has around roughly 50% battery. So in sport, I can do 38 kilometers, in ride 41, in eco 45. And from my own experience of owning an Ather, this is one of the most accurate EV range estimates that I've seen. And you'll get navigation here. Unfortunately, it's not working on the scooter right now, but because this is a pre-production model, but I'm sure it will be sorted. But I'll put an overlay of how the navigation would look. It would come up somewhere around here as a turn-by-turn navigation, and I think it is very intuitive. A lot of scooters in this segment don't get. Instead of using phones and phone mounts, which can be slightly tricky sometimes, I think this is an easier implementation. And this is the new switchgear. So slightly the switches have been changed with these small nips at the end to give you more feel. Obviously, if you use gloves, you can't feel much, but they have a joystick here and a dedicated reversing assistant. Let me show you how the reversing assistant works. Lovely animation with the indicator lights turned on. That's the top speed in reverse mode. And once you select it, press and hold it for a short while, the reversing assistant gets disconnected. I would miss this feature a lot on my Gen 2 scooter, because on my Gen 2 scooter I have to do some selections here, or I can use some shortcuts, but that's slightly confusing. I keep forgetting that. I think there's a perfect implementation of that. Talking about this switch gear, this will also be coming on the 450X as a facelift update sometime in October, November tentatively. Another switchgear update is this joystick controller. I think this is intentionally done for this scooter, but this will also come for the 450X if I'm not wrong, because it just makes it more accessible. For instance, it's currently displaying odometer. I can check my current ride and also the trip. If I go to settings, I can pair a phone. Auto hill hold assist is on. So these are the rider assist features that are available. Another feature that's there on this scooter is coasting regeneration. I'll talk more about it while we are on the road. And it has fault detection on. Obviously I can't show it here, but I've had an experience. Yeah, in other cases it would have accelerated towards me, right? Yeah. Whenever, let's say, the scooter falls, right, people tend to pick up the scooter like this and accidentally they can give the throttle, and that is very risky. Also, auto indicator is on, guide me home is off, incognito mode just to kind of have their data private, shutdown, hold. So those are some of the rider assist and Ather Connect features. Let me start riding and show you how this feels, first here in an off-road terrain and then on the road. Love the animation, man. And this would be a good off-road trail for big bikes, but I'm taking an EV here, experimenting with the suspension and all. Feels pretty similar to how the current 450X or even my generation Gen 2 feels. As I said, mechanically this scooter is very identical to the current 450X Gen 3 or my Gen 2. Being a scooter which is focused a bit on the performance side, the suspension is slightly stiffer. We have done enough videos about how the suspension feels and rides, and in that sense, mechanically, I'm not going to talk much about how this rides and handles or the design. The only thing I'll talk about is, do you see any noticeable difference in terms of performance on the scooter compared to the current gen? Because if you're looking for performance, the 450X Gen 3 still is the fastest one. I think this does 0 to 40 in roughly 3.9 seconds. In fact, we'll test it after this railway crossing. All clear? I'll put up a display here in terms of the time. Feels still peppy, man. The common feedback that Ather used to get whenever people test rode the scooter for the first time is how peppy and quick it is. Gen 3 is much faster. I can feel that because it has the warp mode. This doesn't get the warp mode. There's only sport mode. I've also tested the top speed on the highway. I'll put the clip of that here. It did 90 kilometers on the sport mode. In the ride mode, it did roughly 65 kilometers. With my body weight, with a lighter frame, you can go faster. And in eco mode, it's around 50-55. So again, pretty similar to what the current generation scooters are. If you're wondering why Ather launched a product which is very similar to the current model, they changed the instrument cluster to cut down cost so that there will be a higher EV adoption. So this is much more accessible in that regard. Performance wise, this is more than sufficient. I've been using a 450X Gen 2 in the city and I've hardly used the warp mode. If you ask me, are there any more updates than the instrument cluster and switchgear? No. I think the scooter is primarily aimed at those potential buyers who are looking to upgrade from their ICE 125cc scooters to an EV potentially, but they don't want to spend that extra premium of up to 1.5 lakhs, because let's say if you are owning an NTorq 125 which costs right now on road 1 lakh in Hyderabad, to almost 1.6 1.7 lakhs for a 450 Gen 3 seems like a huge upgrade. People might not be ready for that, whereas this makes it much more accessible to them, and I think that's a very smart move on Ather's front. While I stop here for the long signal light, let me tell you about few things that I'm not a fan of on this from the first ride impressions. We'll do a dedicated detailed review later on, but one, the reflections on this, not a fan of. I think this joystick need to be a bit more taller. Right now it feels not so great. Also, you see the odo, it's kind of scrolling. I don't want that to scroll, and no way to reset trip meter from here. Let's say if I hold it, press and hold, Nothing's happening. I mentioned earlier that I wanted to talk to you about the coasting region, right? So typically region happens with braking or the throttle. When you turn the throttle the opposite direction, the scooter aggressively applies region and it slows down pretty fast. And when you brake, automatically region starts applying some juice back to the battery. And now we have a third way. It's called coasting regeneration. It's slightly misleading. It's not adding regeneration when you're coasting like now, but when I let go of the throttle, you see the animation here? That's adding some regeneration to the battery. I think this has improved the efficiency by 7%, not major, but small changes here and there can always improve the range, and that's an easy feature for them to add. Impressive. Also, they changed the throttle map to make it more linear. Previously in eco mode, what used to happen is you kind of hit a roof in terms of how much you can accelerate. After a point, it's a sudden fall off. But now the throttle is a much more linear throttle, and in that sense I think that made the riding experience slightly better. Chalo, we're almost close to the airport. We'll reach to the hotel and conclude this video. That completes the first ride impressions of the Ather 450S. As you can see with the badging here, X became an S, but this feels more like an Ather 450X Gen 2 for me, with a slightly updated or different instrument cluster and new switchgear. If you remember in the earlier part of the video, I mentioned that Ather has 3 models in its lineup now: the 450S, the 450X with 2.9 kWh battery, and an upcoming 450X with 3.7 kWh. The updates on the 450X is something I couldn't show you in the morning, and also Ather released few new accessories for the scooter. Let me show you. We have 450S here and 450X. These are the updated ones. Both have 2.9 kWh battery. So if you're wondering what are the differences, the switchgear is updated on the 450X, and also the panels are different. You see this panel and this panel, both are of a different material. This has a better finish, slightly matte plastic. This is a basic plastic material. Also, you get these new accessories on the 450X, these new floor mats, which kind of look good with that red color logo. You see these small plastic protective bits that are there here, and also here. My 450X got scratched up here, right where this could have been. A few new accessories that are coming are these scratch guards, or what are they called? The body guards that are installed here.
When I dropped it there, see, that's the orange paint from...
That would have been on the tank. This is a very intuitive, unobtrusive accessory that you can get to protect your scooter, and when you look from far, it's hard to realize that there is an accessory that's there. Costing and all will be updated later, but cool accessory. Chalo, done with the Ather 450S launch and test ride. Hope you liked it. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and in case you're watching this night time, have a good night and take care, and see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.